Hi Flosstubers, it's Katie the Stash Queen coming to you on this Sunday, July the 12th. I hope you all have had a wonderful stitchy week and that you got lots of stitching done. Mine was good for the most part. I have stayed on task with my wine and whips. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I just had to run downstairs and deal with the kids and run back upstairs. I'll be okay in a second. I had one kind of icky health day that made it so I could really only do wine and whips that day. So I do have one holdover for my whips for the week this week. Life was also kind of crazy busy this week. We went and saw the Minions movie on Friday. It was very cute. I highly recommend it. There are lots of jokes in it that the kids will not understand because they are too young, but it was very entertaining and we had a lot of fun. Other than that, it's been a pretty good week so far over here. I have a couple of little shout outs that I have to give. First to Dragon Stitches, aka Eliza. I'm sorry that you cannot drink your Dr. Pepper, the real thing. I will drink this Dr. Pepper in a bottle today in your honor. And then, of course, Jessie Marie drinking Dr. Pepper that's diet. It's totally fine if you're not a Texan. And Garrett, because you say so isn't a reason to say that you're more Texan than I am. You haven't beaten the Dr. Pepper with real sugar in a bottle yet, and I've been here longer than you have. So I'm the bigger Texan. It's me. Anyway, I've got a lot to talk about today. I have 2 tags that I'm going to do. I have my whips, my week in review to show you guys the progress I made on my whips this week. I have my whips for the upcoming week to show you guys. I have stash to show you guys. And at the very end, I am going to do my own tag, which I am calling the Stash Enhancement Tag because I am the Stash Queen and I am the super enabler. So I really, these are questions I hadn't seen in other tags, so I really want to ask the questions, so stick around and we'll get to it. Be prepared for another long video. We'll start with the tags. The first one I'm going to do is the Know Your Needleworker tag. Michaela, MN Chaos here on YouTube. Hi, Michaela. Tagged me to do this tag because she hadn't seen me do it yet, and she had just done it on her channel not too long ago. The original tag is from Whimsy Daisicles, so I went to her channel to get the full list of questions. So here we go. 1, where do you live? I am in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in Texas. Lived in this area since I was 4, except for a brief time when I was overseas for 6 months living right outside of Rome. Before I lived in DFW, the first 4 years of my life were down in Houston, so I'm a lifelong Texan. Garrett, you can't beat me. What do you do? Right now, I am a stay-at-home mom, and hopefully will be for a long time to come. I really enjoy being able to stay home with my children. It's something I always wanted to do. I was a working mom for years and years and years, and enjoyed my job, but I'm glad to be able to stay home with my kids now. And when the school year starts in a few weeks, which just boggles my mind, I hope to be able to get more involved since they'll both be at the same school finally. My son will be entering kindergarten. My daughter will be in 4th grade. I will hopefully be able to get really involved with their school. I'm looking forward to that. Prior to that, I did get my degree in political philosophy, which I haven't really done anything specific with. After college, I got into the field of medical staff credentialing, which is a field that most people don't realize exists. It is the first line of defense and quality assurance for hospitals and for patient safety. It's essentially, the easiest way to explain it is doctors' version of human resources, because doctors aren't hired by hospitals as employees like nurses and other administrative professionals are. Doctors have to go through a credentialing process where you verify everything that they have done since medical school, every license they've ever had, every hospital they've ever worked at. You gather references, you look at their specialty history, where they went to residency and in fellowship if they had a fellowship, and if they're board certified, basically everything they have ever done in their medical career to make sure that they are qualified and capable to do the procedures that they want to do at your hospital. I stumbled into the field. I loved it. I got both of my professional certifications in it, and when I stopped working, I had worked my way up from just a basic credentialing coordinator to a director of medical staff services at one of the local hospitals here. So as part of the hospital administration when I ended up deciding to be able to come and stay home. It's a fantastic field. It's one that really provides a lot of safety. I could tell you horror stories. I'm not going to because this video is going to be long enough already. But the way I always took that position, the thought I always had was that if it was my husband, my mother, my child, my friend on the table with this person, would I be comfortable with them providing their services? And that it was always my goal to make sure that at the end of the day, when I started going through the approval process, that the answer to that question would always be yes. So that's what I did before being a stay-at-home mom. List at least 3 other hobbies you have besides cross-stitching. One would be reading. I am an avid reader. I have, as I've mentioned before. The second would probably be writing. I do some writing on some various websites and have fun with that. I like the storytelling and the character creation, and it's a lot of fun. 3, my mom is trying to get me into gardening. She gardens. She and my dad both garden. And they have a wonderful flourishing garden that this year it's gotten nuts. They've got their fig tree that's about ready to be harvested. They've been making pickles and salsa and all sorts of crazy stuff, lots of canning that my mother has done this year from all of the goodies from her garden. They got us tomato plants for Easter this past year, and they've done really well. And my kids have really enjoyed it, so I'm a novice, baby step, barely out of the womb gardener. But I have a feeling my mom's going to try to enable me more in that regard. Do you have children? Yes. Teresa is 9 and David is 5. Do you have any pets? Not at this time. We used to have cats that we got one cat we got while we were still in college, one cat we got a year later right after we got married, but my son ended up being allergic to cats, so we had to find them another home. We also had a dog a very long time ago that was a Yorkie mix, tiny little dog. Yorkie Maltese mix was what she was. And we had her before we had my daughter, and then my daughter came along and the dog reverted to puppy tendencies, and we couldn't handle it, would refuse to go to the bathroom outside, like she forgot her housebreaking news. Basically, she tried to become the puppy again. So we found her another home with a family where she could be the youngest and the puppy and the baby and spoiled. So their names were Mario and Yoshi for the dogs, or for the cats, and Zelda for the dog. I sense a Nintendo theme. My kids and my husband have been pestering me to get another dog, this time a bigger dog. I have finally agreed to start looking, at least, so we may have a pet soon. My husband wants it to be a dog that can run with him with his marathon training. I don't want it to be too young. We'll wait and see what happens. We certainly can't get one until after my husband's marathon, or not marathon, he'd be mad if I said marathon, after his Ironman in August, so we'll wait and see. Do your friends think you're crazy for stitching? No, because most of my friends either stitch or they have another craft or hobby or obsession of their own. So even if they don't stitch, they at least understand my passion for it. So that's a good thing. Who inspired you to start a YouTube channel? That would be Coffee Stitcher. I love watching everyone's videos. Don't get me wrong. I have tons of subscriptions and it's one of my favorite things to watch during the day, but Coffee Stitcher is the one that kind of dragged me kicking and screaming into the Flosstube community. So you have him to thank or curse, depending on your viewpoint, for having me come on board. What do you do while you're cross-stitching? I watch TV, I talk to my husband, I Skype with other stitchers on Skype, I multitask, I do lots of stuff when I'm stitching. I rarely stitch in the quiet. I do sometimes because sometimes you need it, but really I've usually got 5 or 6 other things going on at the same time that I'm stitching. What is your favorite movie? Princess Bride or Music Man would be the 2 that I would say. I can quote those most readily, and they're just awesome movies. I used to go around the house when I was little singing the entire score for Music Man. What can I say? What is your favorite TV show? That one is a hard one to list. We have a lot of TV shows that we watch, a lot that we Netflix or that we binge watch on Netflix. I like Grey's Anatomy. I like Scandal. I love Once Upon a Time. I am really excited about Merida coming next season. She's one of the most awesome princesses. I like House of Cards on Netflix. I like Orange is the New Black on Netflix. We binge watched recently Defiance, which was awesome as a sci-fi drama. We're binge watching Suits, which is awesome. I like White Collar. I like pretty much anything. I'm not a huge fan of cop shows. Those are too formulaic for me. And even though I said I like Grey's Anatomy, I yell at it a lot because I used to work in hospital administration, and I'm like, that would never happen. That's okay. Favorite type of music? Top 40s, pretty much. I listen to whatever on the radio. I'm not a huge heavy metal fan. I'm not a huge rap fan. I like music I can sing to. I like music I can dance to. I like music that my children can listen to without me being too scandalized at what they're listening to. Your favorite book? I actually grabbed it. It's called The Red Tent by Anita Diamant. I have read this book at least once a year for the past several years. It is a biblical historical fiction to a degree. It's about a woman named Dinah who only has like 2 lines, a brief, barely mentioned in the Bible, that she is the only daughter of Jacob from the book of Genesis with his dozen sons. She was the only daughter and was barely mentioned once. But this whole story kind of is what the author imagined was her life. And it's a great book. And I love historical fiction. That's my favorite genre to read. And it's not too preachy. It's not, you know, it's a very wonderful, imaginative story. What word would best describe you? I have no idea. Depending on the person, some would say stubborn, some would say goofy, some would say crazy, some would say hoarder, some would say eclectic, some would say funny. I'm just going to say me, which is kind of a cop-out, but I'm going to say me. So there's the Know Your Needleworker tag. Thanks so much, Whimsy Daisical, for asking the questions, and thank you, MN Chaos, for tagging me to do it. Yay! I'm going to go ahead and do the second tag real quick that I had seen this week. It's the Teresa tag from Teresa Little Stitcher. And I have to say, before I ever even heard the questions, when I saw Teresa tag on Teresa Little Stitcher's channel, I'm like, I doesn't care what she asks. I'm going to have to answer it because my daughter's name is Teresa and it's spelled the same way as Teresa Little Stitcher without the H, because that's the only proper way to spell Teresa. Sorry, all of you Teresas out there that spell it with an H. You don't need an H in your name. But anyway, Teresa Little Stitcher, hi Teresa, asked the following questions and I like them too, so I'll go through them right quick. Do seasons affect your stitching pattern? In other words, do you stitch less in the summer? No. I have my daily rotation and that doesn't change between summer and winter. I stitch pretty much the same all the time. There are some days, of course, that I will stitch more than others, but that is also not dependent upon the seasons. It's more dependent upon life in general. If my kids are playing soccer, which they play in the spring and the fall, if I've got something else going on in my life, all that sort of thing, life really depends on if I'm going to stitch more, not so much the seasons. Do you prefer a lap stand, a floor stand, or in hand? I stitch in hand. I like sitting on my recliner, and a floor stand doesn't appeal to me for that, and a lap stand, they just seem to be too cumbersome to me. I just haven't really been interested, and I apologize in advance. I think I'm going to sneeze, so sorry. I hate that feeling where it feels like you need to sneeze. Do you prefer a hoop, a Q-snap, frame, or in hand? I use a hoop. I've always used a hoop. I use plastic hoops. I don't use wooden. The size I use most often is the 10-inch plastic hoop, and it's got the little lips so it catches and and I should have brought it upstairs, but I didn't. And it keeps the fabric really nice and taut, and it's how I prefer to stitch. I've tried a Q-snap. I didn't like the feel of it in my hand. I've done in hand a couple of times. I'm not counting the Mill Hill bead kits, which are just a little scrap of paper like that big, so of course you're doing it in hand. But it's usually because I can't get anything else to fit to get those last couple of stitches in with if I was using a hoop or otherwise, but usually it's a hoop. Do you use a stitching light or any other additional light? No. I stitch in my living room, and I usually have it's a big open floor plan, and it's got, so I usually have the kitchen lights on and our normal living room light on, and that's 9 times out of 10 just enough for me. In this room, I'm looking around, whenever I make it into my mom cave, I may add some additional lighting in here, but I don't right now use any additional lighting. Where's the next question? Do you use a magnifier? Nope, I'm good without a magnifier. I don't stitch any higher at this point than 32 count. If I did, I might look into using a magnifier, because 32 count is pretty much where I'm good with. But we will, that's pretty much what I do at this point. Do you stitch one-handed, two-handed, or both? One-handed, because the other hand is holding the hoop, and I'm a quick stitcher relatively, in my opinion, so that's what I do. Do you prefer to stitch alone in a quiet place or around family in the living area? Like I said, I stitch in my living room, so it works for being in the living room area, and there you go. Preferred fabric and preferred count of that fabric. I prefer Jobelan, and I prefer it in either 28 or 32. I'm really not, I don't discriminate between those two. And that's the majority of what I have in my hand dyed. I will use linen. I do like Belfast linen. I've used Jaslyn. I've used different types of linens. I've used Lugana. I've used all sorts of stuff before. Let's see if I can mute all of you on the good ship. Coffee Bean. Sorry, I need to check something real quick. There you go. Who are messaging right now. I'll answer you later. So those are pretty much what I stick to. I don't go higher than 32. I don't like Aida much anymore. I will use Aida most of the time for my full coverage patterns, like my Hades or the Tilton Crafts or something like that, simply because it's kind of easier to work with the Aida for that. Otherwise, the only time I'll use Aida is if it comes in a kit. I don't purchase Aida for my stuff. Usually I don't like the feel of it anymore. Let's see. Have you ever lost your stitching bug? If so, how many times and how'd you get it back? I've lost it more times than I can count in the over 20 years that I've been stitching. Sometimes I've lost it because life happens. Sometimes I've lost it because, you know, I got burned out from a major project that I was constantly working on and couldn't stop and didn't have a good rotation set up in place. Excuse me, got a little bit of a runny nose this morning. What I've done to get it back, there have been a couple of things I've done. One, I've put it to the side and just haven't touched stitching for months at a time, years at a time, even. And then when I felt like stitching again, I'd pick it up and I'd start. Now that I have the rotation that I do with so many whips, if I'm really feeling like I'm burned out and I'm losing my stitchy bug, I will try to see if I can do a new start first to see if maybe that might kick it back into gear, or I'll just take a day off. I try not to let too many days go by anymore without stitching, because it really is therapeutic, and I notice a change when I don't stitch regularly. But, you know, it happens. Life happens. And unfortunately, I am not one, as much as I get to stitch during the day at times, I'm not one that can only stitch and that be the only thing I ever do in my life. And sometimes life gets in the way. Do you travel and stitch? Would you stitch on public transport, or is it a home hobby? I'm going to break this up. I wouldn't stitch on transport, public transport like a bus or something, simply because I don't have a lot of small patterns. I don't have a lot of things that are easy to just stick in my purse. Like a lot of people will have on-the-go projects, like if they're sitting in the car somewhere or at a doctor's office, and will have something quick in their basket or their purse to stitch, and I don't have a lot of those. I mean, I have a lot of small kids, but I don't have a lot of them that I would just take with me somewhere. So in that respect, I think it would just be too cumbersome to do on public transport. That being said, I have brought it out of the house. I stitched at the airport when I was getting ready to go to Tulsa. I have stitched at the indoor playground place regularly. I always bring something to stitch on while I'm there because I have a table and I can spread out and be good. So I do stitch in travel, but I don't do it a lot actually in public transport. Sorry, I'm reaching for something because I just realized I didn't do something when I'm showing my whips for the week, but oh well, we'll deal with it. So those are the questions that from the Teresa tag. Thank you, Teresa, so much for asking them. I hope they help you with what you are looking for with setting up your space, and I really hope your home improvement stuff gets finished quickly because I've lived through that before and it's not fun. Okay, so that's the tags I am answering this week. Next I am going to do my week in review to show you guys the whips that I worked on this past week and where I ended up stopping them for the week. I've already mentioned I did have one holdover for this week that will be, I'll show again when I'm doing my whips for the week. And if you watched my last video, I already showed that I finished my jeweled apple. So I did have one to finish this week. Makes it a little bit less, you know, problematic that I skipped a day of working on my daily rotation because, you know, you gotta finish, and so yay, you finished. Anyway, here are the pieces that I worked on this week. The first one was Italian Vista, and here's where I stopped this week. I added more into the water, which is a lot of half stitches, and so it goes relatively quickly, but I'm going to try to finish all of the water, the reflections in the water, before I go up to do the top half of this page. So there's that one. Next was Let's Do Wine. I got really far on Let's Do Wine by Ursula Michael. It's basically, the words are essentially like working with black work, and they went really, really fast. Got almost the entire bottle completed this week, which I'm thrilled about. Yay! So I've really, before I put it this way, I've got the ribbon on this bow left to go, and then the bottom part of the bottle down here with some more words, and then the border that goes around it. So that one's going really super fast. I didn't expect it to go as fast as it did. But you know, it also makes me more interested and eager to look at some of the blackwork pieces. I've got Box of Delight and Save the Stitches, which everyone knows about, in my stash. I haven't started them yet, but as quickly as that was going and how much I was enjoying doing it, it made me really interested to possibly look into doing those in the not too distant future. Next is the Letters from Nora, the letter T. And I pretty much filled in the blues that are in the top and the little curves of the T this week. So there's that. Then I've got Magical Creatures Calendar from Cloud's Factory. Did not get nearly as far on this one as I wanted to, partially because I worked on it on Friday when I had crazy busy family day and was out of the house more than I was in it that day, but also because I forgot something about the frames. So here's where I stopped on this piece this week. I still have that rest of the bottom to go, and then an entire top frame up here that's gonna have to go entire row. But this corner down here, let me fold it so you can see it a little bit better. For those of you who are doing the Storytime Sampler by Frosted Pumpkin, this frame corner down here, and there's 4 times that I'm gonna have to do this frame corner, isn't complete yet. It still has a little bit more that goes down this way. But the detail and intricacies of it remind me a lot of the Storytime Sampler from Frosted Pumpkin, and it's beautiful and I love how it looks, but it takes a lot of time to do it, and I kind of forgot that that took so long. So slowly but surely it's coming along. We'll get more on it when it comes up next. And then the last piece I worked on this week was the March 2015 motif sampler from Carolyn Manning Designs and her Motif Club. So I finished this, well, the first half of this row and started this row up here. There's actually another, on the second page of the pattern, another 3 or 4 of the diamonds on this row over here, but I'm trying to do the one page first and go all the way up. So that's where I finished that one at this point. I was happy generally with my progress this week. Any week you get a finish is a good week. And like I said earlier, obviously I'm not showing it now, I'll show it on Wednesday, but I have been continuing with my wine and wit piece for this week, the butterfly rose cross, and making a lot of good progress on that. So that helps me happy with the other stuff that I've got going on for my stitching this week. Okay, so whips for the week, which I'm realizing I didn't do 2 things in preparation for this quite yet, but that's okay. You guys can bear with me. I'm excited about sorry, I've got something pop up on my screen. I'm excited about the whips that are coming up this week. I've got a Joan Elliott, I've got a Mira, I've got 2 Glendon Place, I've got 2 Soda Stitch. I'm excited about the pieces that are on the top for this week. So let me show you guys what I am doing. And again, I'm sorry, I'm looking for some stuff over here so I can have, well, this one I've already shown you guys. This is the one that I showed you guys last week that is the holdover this week. It's Medieval Maiden by Joan Elliott. This is the one I'm going to work on later today. She's just beautiful. I love her. And just as a reminder, this is where we are starting her from this week. So we've got quite a bit of her dress done. And then I have the Celtic Knot needle minder from Gina's Unique Needle Minders. So that one you guys have already seen. That one's the one that got held over. And I'm adding needle minders as I'm talking to you all because I forgot to add the needle minders before we started this today. Oops. Sorry. Let me see if I can find the needle minders I want to find. They're all caught and stuck together. Ah! I tried to get organized this morning, but I had a lot of stuff to get organized and apparently some things I forgot. Next one I've got is Mediterraneans from Dimensions. It's one of their more petite pieces. It's really cute. It'll be another one that goes in my kitchen when it's done. And here is where I am on it at this point. So I've got a lot of this side over here done, and I don't have a whole lot left of the border over here to complete. And a lot of it is, like, if you can see closer, let me see if I can show you this. That's a lot of half stitches. So, and I've got the back stitching to do, but because of how I don't like back stitching if all of the stitches around a piece aren't done. But I may start doing some back stitching today or this week, we'll see. And then I've got another one of the Angel Needle Minders from Minding My Minders, which, you know, wasn't meant to be one of the Weeping Angels, but I think it's a Weeping Angel, so don't look away from the Weeping Angels. All the Whovians out there will understand that. Next one that I have is Miss Valentine from Mirabilia. Isn't she pretty? She's one of the holiday angels, or not angels, fairies. I have this one in my rotation. I have 3 others in my stash, 2 kits and then one that's just the pattern. So I think I only need the Thanksgiving one. I think that's all I need still. I've got the Halloween one as a pattern, and I have Easter and New Year's as kits. So I'm stitching this one on 28 Jobelin in Amour from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And here's where we stand. Yes, I know it's pink on pink, but the rest of the pattern and the way it looks, I think this is going to look really nice. And I'm using all of the called for threads that came with the kit, which are really pretty. Let me show you. They're all classic Colorworks. And they're just all so pretty, which is one reason why I was drawn to this piece to begin with. Here's some of them. Aren't they lovely? Ah, as I'm dropping too many cards. Lots of different variations of pink. This one is one of my favorites in the colors. It's Jelly Roll. I love that shade. I think it's gorgeous. Then I've also got Vintage Violet, which I have in another piece as well. And some other ones. I think I've mentioned this before. But for my specialty threads, I always kit up each project with a brand new batch of specialty threads if I don't have one not in use in my stash. Meaning, if I've got a Classic Colorworks thread in my stash that I'm not using anywhere else, I'll throw it in a kit and use it or throw it when I'm kitting up a project and I'll use it. If I do have that color, like the Vintage Violet, I think that's also in the the Letters from Nora as well. I got a brand new skein of it because I don't, DMC, it's one thing to work from all of my stash of DMC while I'm working on a piece, but I don't like doing that with my specialty threads because they're so, I mean, it's not what I do. Next one is Mixed Berry Cheesecake. This is the Glendon Place and Dinky Dyes collaborative kit for the Dessert Mandala collection. It's the limited edition one, in which it's being done, it came with the fabric. It's a 28 casual linen in Bashful from Picture This Plus. And here is where this stands at this point. I've just started working on the center. I've mentioned before, I think, that this piece has very specific instructions for the thread that is done here and here. And I'll show you what it is. Why? Well, I'll show you the instructions. I'll show you the thread that's used, the floss that's used. It's a Dinky Dyes floss that they made specifically for this mandala. This entire piece is done in Dinky Dyes. But the piece that is used, or the one that they made specifically for this piece as part of the collaborative work, is called Mixed Berry Cheesecake, and it's a limited edition one that they've got. Sorry, I'm unwinding some stuff from the bobbin here. But it's really pretty, because yes, I've bobbinated it. But you have to do a brand new length of the thread that goes through all the colors. I don't know if you can see the colors too well, but it goes through all of the colors when you pull out the appropriate length of the skein or of the thread, and you have to use a brand new thread color or thread length, even if you have some left over, for each of those places so that the colors line up properly. It's kind of crazy, but it's all pretty Dinky Dyes flosses, and it's really fun. I like it. Oh, did I not? I don't think I put... Let me go back here. See, I'm a little bit disorganized today, people. I apologize. I am going to put on Miss Valentine. Because she's pink, I'm going to use this pretty pink needle minder from Gina's Unique Needle Minders. Let's just put that there so I have it when I'm ready for it. And then for Mixed Berry Cheesecake, let's go with the purple matching one of that, which is a pretty purple jewel needle minder from Gina's Unique Needle Minders. That'll work for Mixed Berry Cheesecake. Let's get that in there. Next, I have Pinup Girls, which is one of my Soda Stitch pieces. And I can't remember which fabric I'm doing this on. Oh, I think this is the Strawberry Jaslyn fabric from Under the Sea Fabrics, if I remember correctly. Maybe not, and I don't apparently have the little tag that I'm using for this one in my bag. And this is all on my phone, so I'll have to look it up later. And I'll put it in the comments or something later, or I'll mention it next week. One of the two. Here's Pinup Girls from Soda Stitch. Isn't that cute? I really like that. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it yet, but I think it's just adorable. And here's where we stand at this point, which, like I think I mentioned when I was doing the original whip introduction, it kind of looks like a scorpion right now. But that's the hair of one of the girls in the middle. Not a scorpion. And I said to remind me to tell you guys about the story of scorpions in Assisi. We went to Assisi as part of a 10-day trip with college when we were in Rome for the semester. And in Assisi, the hotel room that my group stayed in, because we were spread out all over Assisi, and we got a class of 100 kids, so you got to figure out places for all of them to go. And Assisi is a small little town in the mountains. When we got into our room, we were all getting ready for bed, getting out of hiking boots and changing to pajamas and all that stuff, when someone screamed because there was a scorpion about this big, literally about that big, crawling on the wall in our room. And we screamed because we were all girls, like 5 or 6 of us in this room, all freaking out. And the scorpion ran away and we couldn't find it anywhere. And we all ended up sleeping in our boots and jeans and layered with all the clothes and stuff we could get. And I don't think any one of us slept at all that night. It was rather scary. And I'm going to use this pretty blingy diamond-y needle minder from Gina for this one. Put that one over here to the side. Next one is my other Glendon Place mandala this week, and this is, I'm sure everyone knows this one, it's Plum Pudding by Glendon Place, and I just think that's beautiful. This is the first one that I saw of the dessert mandala collections on some of the blogs that I follow, and I just love it. I think it's gorgeous. So of course I got it, and then I got all the rest of them because I'm the stash queen and I don't know how to stop. Let's see, which needle minder am I going to use on this one before I open it up. This one would have been another good one to use the blue one on, or the purple one on, but that's okay. I have lots of needle minders to choose from, and more needle minders are on the way. As you hear all of the magnets landing in places. I think I'm going to use this one of the 10th Doctor from Minding My Minders. Because, the 10th Doctor is cool. I don't know which one I like more, 10 or 11. 12 hasn't really grown on me fully yet, though I do like the way his hair is looking in the previews for the upcoming season. My son loves number 12. I'm sure that was all something you all needed to know. But I am doing this piece on 28 Lugana in Whimsy from Picture This Plus. And here's where we are at this point. I'm using all the called for dinky dyes and other specialty flosses. It's a really soothing stitch. That's the one thing I like about these dessert mandalas. They're not as complex as the mandalas like from Chatelaine, which are gorgeous, but they're complex. These, are just lots of different little geometric shapes that you can stitch up, and it turns into this utterly gorgeous piece. And I mean, look at these silks. This is some of the extra ones that I have. Aren't they just gorgeous? I love them. And purple is one of my favorite colors. So, don't know what I'll do with this one yet when it's done, but it's beautiful and I love it. Let's see. And then the last piece for this week is going to be my, what is this one? The Princess Collection from Sew to Stitch. And here's what it looks like. Look at the pretty princesses! Snow White and Rapunzel and Ariel and Cinderella and Jasmine and Aurora. Doesn't have Belle, who is my favorite, but that's okay. I still love this. There's a companion piece for it that's all the princes from these stories, and I have that pattern. I just haven't done it yet. Where did I put that? Oh, crap. Oops for spilling. Luckily I didn't spill it on any fabric. That's a good thing. I am just a mess today. I apologize, everybody. I'll have to clean that up in a bit. So here's where we are on this one. I am doing this one on 32 Lugana in Zephyr from Picture This Plus. And here's where I am on her, or on this one. I've got Ariel is the one in the middle, so she's the one I started with. And of course, it's the princesses, so I'm going to use my crown from Gina. So I'll focus more on Ariel this week, and we will see if I go, because see, she is right here. So we'll see if I go this way and finish it up, or if I go the other way. I haven't decided yet. And the really cool thing about sew to stitch patterns, if you see down here, it shows different ways, like there's Rapunzel with her prints, and Cinderella with her prints and all that you can do. Sorry, I'm trying to look around so I can see like individual little motifs with these guys, or combine the two patterns or whatnot. And so that's one really cool thing about sew to stitch. I love their patterns. So I'm really excited to be doing a couple of sew to stitches this week. Let's see, 40 minutes in and I haven't started Stash and I haven't done the tag yet. Oh boy. All right, I'm gonna switch up the order here for a second. I was gonna do Stash next, but I think it's better to end with Stash as a little, reward for going through this video as long as you all have. So I'm gonna do what I am calling the Stash Enhancement Tag. Move these questions up so I can see them all. And that's because, sorry, I'm looking around for something else. That's because one of my favorite things about Flosstube is, yes, we all hear about what's your favorite stitch and what's your favorite fabric and how long have you been stitching on, and that's great, and I love getting to know and answering those questions and hearing everyone else answer them. But one of my favorite things about Flosstube is getting to see what other people are working on. And yes, there are Stash videos, and I'm going to do more Stash videos in the future, but I kind of like, a directed approach idea of what you think or what we can do to help enhance each other's stash. Not that we all need it. I certainly don't, but I love it anyway. And so I really hope others enjoy this tag and decide to do it as well. So let me ask the questions. First question, what is your favorite pattern in your stash that you haven't started yet, and what has kept you from starting it? I'm a serial starter, I fully admit that, but I have tons of patterns in my stash that I haven't started yet. And I was actually going through my patterns a bit and found it, because I wasn't even sure the answer to this question myself yet when I asked it, or when I came up with it. And I've got tons of patterns that are gorgeous. Now, the obvious question to this really would be Raven Queen, because she is the one I really, 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 really want to start next. But she's up, she's going to be started in October, and so I'm not counting her, because she is going to be a start. It's just a matter of waiting until the stitch along. So the two that I picked, because I picked two, because they're companion pieces and I couldn't decide one over the other, that I haven't started yet, that are my favorite. They're both from Heaven and Earth Designs. This one is Mask of Colors 1, and they're both designed by Linda Ravenscroft. And here's the companion piece, Mask of Colors 2. And I think they are both just absolutely stunning. I love, 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 love them. Why haven't I started them yet, you ask? One, they're both Hades. And I've already got 3 Hades on the go. I would kind of like to finish a Hade before I start any more Hades. 2, I just haven't kitted them up yet, looked at all the colors. I mean, because there's a lot of colors in these charts. And I didn't get the background removed from this, so all of that brown background on both of them is technically stitched. So what I probably would do before I actually look to start either of these 2 pieces would be to see if I can figure out a way to remove the background myself, or just block it out on the chart, so I'd only have to stitch the girls, because they're gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So I'd say those are the 2 pieces that I have in my stash that I haven't started yet. What is your favorite non-pattern item in your stash is question number 2. I would have to say my fabric collection, which you guys have seen part of already, and you'll see the rest of it today. I just love fabric. Fabric is so much fun to collect. I collect them all. I collect patterns and fabric and floss and everything else like that. But I would say that probably the fabric is my favorite non-pattern related thing in my stash. I don't have one specific one because there's way too many. But I think that that's probably what I would say would be my non-pattern favorite thing in my stash is my fabric collection. What do you have the most of in your stash?
Mom.
Yes, my son.
I want...
Sorry.
Oh, Teresa not let me have my time.
Okay, well, I will come and help you out in just a minute when I'm done with my video, okay?
Are you almost done?
I'm almost done. Go ahead and go on out, sweetie.
I'm not.
Yes, David, you need to go in the other room, please.
Until you're done.
Go out in the other room and close the door, son. Please.
Until you're done.
Until I'm done. And then I'll come back out and I'll come and get the time. Or you can tell Teresa it's your turn to play. Okay?
I told Teresa.
Okay, close the door for me. Thank you. My husband is out practicing on doing an 80-mile bike ride today, so there's no other parent in the house, so I apologize. What was I asking? What do you have the most of in your stash? Patterns, floss, fabric, or other, like beads or something? I don't know. At first I would have said fabric, because I've got a ton of fabric. But then I started going through my patterns and realized I have way more patterns than I thought I did. Floss is insane. I have an almost complete collection of Mo's Sale Floss, and she's got a ton of floss, plus all the DMC, plus the other specialty ones that I have. So really, I don't know the answer to my own question. Oh well. Besides your local needlework shop and the big box craft shops like Michael's and Joann's and Hobby Lobby, where is your favorite place to buy stitching supplies? Mine would be 123stitch.com. It's where I go for pretty much almost everything. If I know I'm not gonna be able to get to my LNS or the big box stores. I sometimes actually also look at Walmart while I'm there, which I'm not gonna count as a big box store because really their cross-stitching sections are puny and aren't worthy of counting it as a big box craft store. But I will look there sometimes. My local, the 2 Walmarts that I go back and forth with both have DMC. So if I need some DMC, that'll probably be where I look first during one of my weekly shopping trips before I make the big trek out elsewhere. But 123 Stitch would be the one that I would use most often for buying my supplies. Name one item you have purchased that was not meant for cross-stitch use, but you have repurposed for your craft. That for me would be my Krynic storage, because this is a shotgun shell case, and I have filled it with my Krynic storage and my spare metallics that didn't fit in there yet. I was telling Coffee Stitcher the other day that I was really tempted. You know, I got a notice in my mail. I ordered this from Midway USA, which is a sports shooting gun type company. Asking me to review my product because, you know, companies do that. When you buy a product and they ship it, they ask you to review it. And, you know, I went on there to look at the reviews. And, of course, they're all gun enthusiasts, people who hunt, people who use it for their ammo, who are all raving about how its uses for their ammunition. I was really tempted to say, oh, it's fantastic metallic floss storage for my cross-stitching. I haven't yet. I still might, though. But that is probably one thing that it wasn't meant for stitching. And yes, it's storage, but I want to hear what you all have purchased that you've used for storage or you've actually used in a cross-stitch craft that wasn't meant for cross-stitch, but you used it anyway. Because I always think it's cool to be able to take things from other places and repurpose it. Name one item in your stash that you were enabled to purchase after seeing someone else with that item. It would be, I have the pattern here, the In the Fairy Tales book pattern by Soda Stitch. I saw Coffee Stitcher doing it. He's doing it as a stitch along with a couple other people. Another person in the same group that we were in was doing it. Kenny, I think, was who it was. And this was the first Soda Stitch pattern I had ever seen. And I had to go and find it. And then that enabled me to all of the other Soda Stitch patterns that I have. So this is all, my love for Soda Stitch started from seeing this one pattern that Coffee Stitcher and others were doing. if someone asked you what was the one must-have pattern that they had to have in their stash, if they had no other pattern, they had to have this one, what would you recommend? And I'm going to fudge my own answer to this question. It would be the Bewitching Cross Stitch book by Joan Elliott. And the reason is that this book has so many gorgeous, 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 gorgeous patterns in it that range from, you know, the cutesy little fairies that she has to that Celtic pillow I just showed, to other mystical and fantasy pieces. It's just awesome. So anyone who, I mean, even it's got, you know, Halloween ones. You know, I've seen Cindy from Stitch and Fish do this one and some other ones. I mean, it's got something for, I think, everybody's taste, in my opinion. So if someone said what was the one pattern they had to have, oh, and it's got the very popular, these are also available as kits, but it's got Hope, Believe, Dream, and Imagine in there, and just there's so many things. I pretty much want to do almost everything that is in this book. So if someone asked what was the one must-have pattern or collection thing in their collection, it would be the Bewitching Cross Stitch by Joan Elliott. Absolutely. And then the last question is, if someone asked you what one designer they had to check out to enhance their stash, who would it be? I've got two answers for this. One, I would say, is Rosewood Manor. They're popular, I know, but for people who don't necessarily like Quakers and people who don't necessarily like prim patterns or Americana, which I don't generally, I love Rosewood Manor stuff. I have the 4 seasonal Quakers and Quaker Diamonds. I've got the American flag sampler that I'm working on, that's a quilted sampler. They have some gorgeous patterns that I think bypass or go past any hesitation someone may have for primitive Americana Quaker type patterns. That would be one that I would recommend people to go to. The other one would just be Etsy in general. I have found so many awesome designers on Etsy that I like. Fangirl Stitches, who is the Once Upon a Time alphabet sampler that I did, and she's got another one that I've got that'll come up in my rotation next week, the Princess Leia. I think she's awesome. Wee Little Stitches, which is who Floss Daily is from, is great. There are a lot of people out there who are trying to make it, who are fighting, you know, the big designers that are out there that have already made a name for themselves and are already carried in places like 1-2-3 Stitch and in magazines, and but they're trying to make their own niche out there. And there's some great things. If you just look on Etsy and you look up cross stitch, you can find some fantastic designers out there. So those are my 8 questions. I will post a copy of them down in the comments below. If you're interested in answering them, let me know. I'll be more than happy to hear what your answers to those questions would be. And there's a knock at my door. 1 second. Who is it?
Teresa.
What, darling?
Can you open these canvases?
Okay, bring it to me. Sorry, Mom's work is never done. Stay off camera. She's not appropriate to be seen on camera right now. There's one. Not soda. V8 Fruit Fusion Strawberry Banana Juice. And their tabs are really hard. Here you go. Close the door, please. Got a lot more interaction from my kids today than we normally do. That's okay. Alrighty. So the last thing I have on my agenda to do, and this is going to be probably my longest video since we're already pushing 53 minutes at this point. Didn't spill it all. Is my fabric stash. It's the last installment of my fabric stash videos. I've got Picture This Plus. I have Silk Weaver / Zweigert, and then other miscellaneous stuff. I think I'll start with the miscellaneous because it's probably the most boring of all of it, but that's okay. I have in my miscellaneous stash Aida 14 count and 16 count. I bought these for something at some point, I'm sure, because see, you can see that this has already been cut. Don't know if I'll actually ever use them again, but I'll keep them. I might, depending if I get like a quick stitch or something from Haid. These might be good for those. I have some perforated paper in my stash because I've got a couple of perforated paper pieces that I'm working on. One is a silver and it's shiny. Woo! And then one's just a brown perforated paper with all the nice little holes in it. I like working with perforated paper. It's got the simplicity of Aida as far as you don't really have to count over 2 or anything else like that, but it's the pieces are sturdier and fun to work with and all that. And then I've got a 28 count even weave that I'm not sure what I bought it for. I'm sure I bought it for some reason. And then this is my scraps that I've got, little pieces that may have come. I think I got like a little scrap bag from Handmade Fabrics from Stephanie and a few other things, but I don't have names for these. These are just going to be the colors. I don't even have the counts for them either, but here's a cute little, it's a light greenish. Let's see if I can get, that's a little better. There you go. Instead of against my turquoise shirt. And then I have this one. This one's really cute. It's a small piece, but I like the turquoise and purple. And I'll find something cute and small to go on it. This might be a good little fairy piece at some point. And then I've got this little pink piece. I think's a linen. It's got a little blue splotch in there, but that's okay. And then this one, which is an even weave. It's a pretty like magenta. Piece. Obviously they've been folded badly because of the creases. And then this is a pretty one that's kind of like an earthen tones that I will find something to use for that one also. The browns and the greens and the whites. It's very pretty. And then I have a piece of brown linen that Miss Valentine was originally, that came with the Miss Valentine kit, but I didn't like it. I mean, Miss Valentine's too pretty for basic brown linen, which I just wasn't a huge fan of. I'm not sure if I'll use it again. It may be a good ornament piece to use. So that's my boring additions to this. The next group I've got, this is my Silk Weavers Zweigart collection. I was a member of the Pattern of the Month Club for about a year and a half or so. That's where most of this came from. I did I would get different counts, different cuts, different pieces, different colors every month, which is kind of cool because with the other Pattern of the Month, or Fabric of the Month clubs, you pretty much sign up for, I want 28 count Jobelin in a fat quarter, and that's what you get every month. And it's great because, you know, you build up the stash, and the difference that comes each month is the color and how it's going to look, and that's wonderful, not a problem. But the one thing I did really like about this, about Silk Weavers Fabric of the Month, was that, you know, I gave a count size that I liked, and that was about it. And not even all of these fit in that count size. But the club that I picked, they had lots of different selections. It basically kind of gave me different fabrics every month, which I did like getting the different ones. So this first one is a 28 count casual linen called Seaside Melody. And of course the blues are kind of washed out here. But it's a pretty blue-gray, very seaside-y piece. Let me see if I can get the blues a little bit better here. There, that's a little bit better. It's a pretty pastel blue in there. That's very pretty. That's the other thing about the Silk Weaver ones. A lot of these are solo dyes. So, like this one, which is a 32 count Belfast linen solo dye. But it's very pretty. It's a browny, pinky, purpley, kind of a Halloween-y fabric, really. It looks a little bit more green in this, which really doesn't have much green. It's more of a brown, which just shows that the camera's being kind of wonky today. Sorry! It's been an odd day for my video today, obviously. Next one is a 32 count Belfast linen solo die, which I really like. I think this is pretty, with the pinks and the whites. Just gotta find the good. I almost did Miss Valentine on this one, but the pinkish didn't go as well with the threads. But it's really pretty. This one is a 32 Belfast solo die also. And it's another pretty sea green white color. Okay, let me fold it again and get it on the white, because I've got the white today. And you see that a little bit better. The green and white. It's very pretty. I have more of that kind of color in my stash than I realized I had. This one is also very Halloween-y, if you ask me. It is a 28 Jobelin solo die. It's got berry green and brown and white. But look at that green. It's like neon lime slime green, which is cool for Halloween-y and haunted housey type patterns, which I have a few of in my stash. So that'll probably be what I use for that one when I get to it. This next one is a 32 Opal Lugana in Sparkling Forest. Sparkle! A little evergreen. That'll work for it. And I like how they also sent some of the smaller cuts of fabric, because it makes it, when I have smaller pieces to look at, I like not having to waste a whole lot of fabric. I mean, I'll cut fabric in half and do all that, or trim it down after the fact, but anyway. This one is a 32 Belfast linen solo die, another slime lime green one. So it'll probably be a Halloween-y piece. Though it could be a good fairy piece, depending on the fairy. We'll see what happens. I hear children. They may interrupt again. This one is a 32 Lugana in Cherry Cordial. It's a pretty pinky red. I like the modeling on it. This one is a 28 Cashel Linen in Ocean Fancy. This is another really pretty blue. I really like this one. Another good mermaidy type piece of fabric. You see, it's got a lot of turquoisey, kind of actually matches my shirt, which is turquoise today. Let me see if I can do. Yeah, that's better. Note to self, wear white shirts. That's really pretty. Then this one is a 32 Lugana Imperfect Pine. Another pretty pine green piece in a smaller cut. These are the 13 by 18 cuts. And then I have a 28 Cashel Linen in Treasure Trove. It's a really pretty gray shade for this one, which you don't see a lot of really nice gray pieces, but this one kind of looks like a stone almost. But I really like it. Not sure what I'll do with on it yet, but it's really nice. This one I lost the sticker on. I know it's Weigert. I know it's Silk Weavers. I think it's Autumn something, but I can't remember. But it's a piece. Pretty browny shades. This next one is a 28 Jaslyn in Inferno. Pretty orange, burnt orange, reddish orange shade. More of a solid, not really modeled, but that's okay. Sometimes you need a solid. And then the last one from Silk Weavers is the 32, it's a 32 Belfast Linen Solo. But it's a nice pretty navy blue. A little bit of white modeling in there. It's a nice piece. I know a lot of people have had issues with silk weavers, and I have never purchased from them besides the fabric of the month. There were a couple of months in which it was delayed in getting the stuff to me. The product is a quality product. The customer service is hit or miss. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to get in there. Last batch of my fabric stash is my Picture This Plus stash. Say that 5 times fast. A couple of years ago, I think it was the last year they did, I don't know if they do the Fabric of the Month Club anymore, but the last year that they did it, they had 2 Fabric of the Month clubs for their 2 different color lines that had come out, or that were coming out that year, and I was a member of both of them. So I got lots and lots of, and for this one, I got all fat halves so I have big pieces of fabric in this one, which, you know, I'm not going to complain about. This first one, they're all 32 Lugana, and none of them are opal. So I'll just say that now. It's all 32 Lugana. This one is earthen. Now, one thing I do like and dislike at the same time about Picture This Plus, they are so popular and so prevalent that a lot of their stuff is gorgeous. I love it. I think it's beautiful. This is a beautiful brown earthen, and there's a lot of brown earthen tones in this batch for one of the lines that year. But their modeling, while lovely, see something there, seems pretty, for lack of a better word, almost uniform in all of their pieces. It doesn't have the same feel like someone like Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie or Under the Sea Fabrics or the other personal hand dyers out there have, in my opinion. I still think they're beautiful, and I use it in many pieces. I've got a piece of it, 2 pieces of Picture This Plus in my rotation this week, and more in my whips. But there's just something about their modeling that feels a lot more uniform, and that could be because they are so big and they've done this so much that they've got it down to a science. And if that's going to be my one complaint, really, they're fantastic fabric otherwise. This one is Legacy. It's another earthen tone. Like I said, there's a lot of earthen brown tones in this one, in this selection, just because that was the way the line was. This one's more of a light golden brown, which is kind of hard to see, I know, but all of these different brown pieces are really good neutral backgrounds for a lot of different pieces. Then this one is Fresco. And it does kind of look like one of the fresco walls. Little brown and gray tones in there. Excuse me. Longest video yet! Yay! This one is also Bashful, which is the same fabric that I'm doing, or that came with the Mixed Berry Cheesecake kit, but that one is a linen, and this one is the Lugana, and it's much more obvious, the pink shade that this fabric is supposed to be. Here, let me fold it in half so you can see it a little bit better. But it is definitely more of a pink, and even there, the camera, it's not that easy to see. Let me see if I can fold it down and show you some against a white. In person, it's much more of an obvious pink tone, which that's a little bit better. It's a really pretty subtle pink. Next one, let's see which one is this one. This one is Conifer, pretty green. This one, the modeling's a lot more clear because of it being the green. But it's really pretty. I like this one. A rich green. Definitely reminds me of conifer trees. Which it should, since that's what it's called. This one is Mint, which I have the Mint, one of the Glendon Place dessert mandalas, and I think this is the piece of fabric I will use for it when the time comes. But it's a pretty mint light green, and I'll fold it in half so maybe see it a little bit better as far as the color goes, because it's hard to see it. That's the problem with the lighter fabrics. They're gorgeous in person. They're difficult to see on screen. That's a little bit better. But it's very much a minty green, like a Andes mint type green. Yay! This one is Ariel, as in A-E-R-I-A-L, instead of Ariel the princess. So it's another light blue, which I also like having the light blue ones because it makes it easy to have the, like a sky background. As I drop it. So it's really pretty. I like it. Let me see if I can fold it so you can see it a little bit more clearly as far as the blue goes. But I think we've already learned the blue, whether on my videos or anyone else's, it's difficult to show up if it's light. That's a little bit better. Here's another blue, speaking of. This one is Mercedes. This one's a darker blue. The modeling is darker on this one. So it's probably gonna be a little bit easier to see, yeah. It's really pretty. I like that one. Like I said, blues I often use for air type backgrounds. This one is one of two yellows. Yellow you don't see in fabrics much. And I'm not entirely sure why. I like yellow. Yellow's pretty. This one is called Chime, and it is like a butter yellow hue. Much more subtle, maybe even a daffodil type yellow almost. Let me see if I can fold it so you can see it a little bit clearer. That's a little bit. Let me do one more so you get the white again. That's a little bit better. But it's very much a butter, light, soft, gentle, springtime yellow. As opposed to this next one, which is called Summer. I have never seen yellow fabric this bright, ever, anywhere. That's really yellow fabric. I mean, it is bright, 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 bright yellow. There is no doubt whatsoever what this color is. When this came in the mail and I opened it up, I was like, oh my God. I don't know what I will stitch on it. I've seen a couple of patterns that I could use on this, but it is a powerfully bright fabric and it needs an appropriate piece. I love this one. This one is Tango. It's a really pretty red that I really like. I think it's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. It's another one of those that I need to find a good piece to do on it. This one, Cyprium, I think is how you pronounce it, but it's a pretty orange brown type color. Very fall. Let's see again. See, a pretty fall, orange brown. Oh, I'm slowly making it through. See, I just have this much left. Next one is called Heritage. And it's another one of the kind of neutral brownie backgrounds, which I like. Very parchmenty. This one is Fossil. It's definitely another orange-brown mottle mix. More of the orange is the mottling and the brown. But it's very pretty. I like it. Here's another powerfully bright fabric. This one is Prank. And it's bright orange. Bright orange. But I like the bright orange. I think it's awesome. Very pumpkin-y, Halloween-y fall type fabric. Then this one is Pewter, so silvery gray. I will say one thing about Picture This Plus. They have such a massive selection on their website, which is great. You can find pretty much anything you want there. And I think a lot of LNSs carry Picture This Plus fabric because they are so big and so popular. This one is Fog, which is really like almost a white with subtle mottling on it that I don't know if you're gonna be able to pick up the mottling. I'm just gonna fold this in half, fold this. So, yeah, the mottling is definitely getting lost on that. It's a very foggy piece. The mottling is subtle, but there. So you can see it a little bit better there. And it's much more obvious to see in person for this one. This one is Sorbet, which I cut in half, and the other half is being used on Let's Do Wine. So you've seen this one before. It's the pretty pink Sorbet. And see, that's cut in half. So I have another fat quarter left of this fabric. So I am glad that I did the fat halves. I don't order fat halves often anymore just because they are more expensive because of the size. And I have so much, but it is a good investment to do the fat halves. This one's also cut in half because I'm using it on another piece. You'll see another time. This is Sand. Another pretty neutral. In comparison to Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie and Under the Sea, my collection of Picture This Plus is much more neutral. But that's okay, you need the neutrals as much as you need the bright colors. And this is the last one, which is also cut in half because it's being used in another piece. This is Doubloon. I think, if I remember correctly, this was the recommended fabric for the Once Upon a Time sampler by Frosted Pumpkin. I didn't use the recommended one. I used something else entirely, but it is a really pretty parchmenty fabric. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of my fabric stash. Any fabrics you see from here on out will be ones that come in for Fabric of the Month or for other sale purchases. Hard to believe I've gone through it all. As for future stash videos, I've got patterns to show, I have flosses to show, you guys have seen my bead storage and such already. I'm not sure what you all want to see more of first. So let me know in the comments what you want to see more of. If you want to see flosses first or if you want to see patterns first. I will say it'll probably be a little while, regardless of which one wins, before I do another stash video. And that is because I am currently working on changing my storage for flosses. I use flosses on bobbins, but I don't like bobbinating a ton of flosses if I'm not using them at the time. So I'm working on figuring out it's going to be kind of like almost like the floss away system for keeping them in bags when I'm not using them, but having them on bobbins when I am. And I'm in the process of moving all of my non-DMC to that, which is freeing up floss boxes, which may make me evaluate how I'm looking at my DMC to see if I want to go through all of my whips and just pull out the flosses that I need instead of working through the 5 or 6 boxes that I have sitting next to me. Haven't really quite decided yet, but I'm still working on that storage. And then patterns are everywhere in here. There's some in here, there's some on the bookshelf behind me, there's some hidden underneath all these piles. And I kind of want to get those a little bit more organized before I delve really into the patterns. But I do want to know if there's anything you do want to see, and if I can, I'll pull it out and look at them quickly. This is absolutely my longest video to date. I hope YouTube uploads it. I hope you all have a wonderful stitchy week. Let me know if you do the tag. Like I said, I'll put the tag questions in the comments. I look forward to hearing everybody's answers, and I will see you all soon.